Starliner. Today, we're going to get inside the mind of an astronaut who faced the ultimate challenge. We're going to use her own words to really understand what it takes to survive when things go seriously wrong, 250 miles above the Earth. Okay, just imagine hearing those words. This was the reality for astronaut Sunita Williams on her recent Boeing Starliner mission. The plan? A quick trip. But the reality? Well, it turned into something else entirely.
So what does go through your mind in a situation like that? For Sunita Williams, it actually wasn't fear. It was all about methodically solving the problem one step at a time, and just trusting the incredibly exhaustive training process, even when the machine itself was failing.
5. That was the number of failed thrusters on the Starliner spacecraft. Now get this, in simulations, they'd trained for maybe 1, maybe 2 thrusters going down. 5. That was a scenario that went completely off script, pushing them and the entire ground team into totally uncharted territory.
And this right here illustrates a huge disconnect, doesn't it? While the media was running with this narrative of a crew stuck in space, on board, Williams and her crewmate were calm, they were focused, and they were working the problem with a massive team back on Earth. For them, hope was never, ever in question.
So you gotta ask, what kind of person can stay that calm in a crisis like that? Well, that kind of mindset isn't built overnight. The foundation for it is laid long, long before you ever get to the launch pad. It often starts way back in childhood.
This is a really surprising admission, Sunita Williams says she has dealt with insecurity her entire life, in sports, in school, even in her career as a pilot and astronaut. The key, she says, isn't to somehow magically get rid of insecurity, but to learn how to push through it.
She actually credits her multicultural upbringing, being part of the only Indian-American family in her town, with teaching her patience and how to relate to all sorts of different people. That feeling of being different as a kid, it actually became a strength, a critical skill for living in the super close quarters of space.
And then that resilience gets honed through some incredibly intense training that goes way beyond the technical stuff. Astronauts basically work to deconstruct their own psychology. They go to outdoor leadership schools to find their personal hotspots, the things that trigger anxiety, so they can manage those reactions under the most extreme pressure imaginable.
But what happens when a situation comes up that you just couldn't possibly train for? When a real, life-threatening problem just pops up without any warning?
This was another one of those terrifying moments, this time from a previous mission. A satellite had exploded, and it created this huge, dangerous field of debris. The alarm goes off, and suddenly the reality of their situation becomes crystal clear.
This procedure is called safe haven, and man, it just highlights the constant risk. It was this totally surreal moment where all the training becomes starkly real. They had to say what could have been their final goodbyes, hug each other, and then retreat to their separate escape pods, with no idea if they'd ever see their colleagues again.
Facing these kinds of dangers requires a really unique and powerful set of mental tools. These are the techniques that literally turn potential panic into productive action.
And one of the most crucial tools in that mental toolkit is compartmentalization. So when those 5 thrusters failed, Williams didn't panic about the entire journey home. She just focused on the very next immediate task, docking safely. As she puts it, you solve a huge problem one small bite at a time.
This quote, this reveals everything about the immense trust astronauts place in their ground control teams. She never felt alone or hopeless because she knew there was literally an army of the world's best experts working around the clock for their safety. That trust is a lifeline.
So instead of just feeling sorry for herself while waiting for answers, what did she do? She kept busy, transferring food, fixing the station's toilet, helping crewmates with their experiments, purposefully staying occupied and useful. That is a key survival strategy. It's a way to maintain some control when so much is out of your hands. This reflects her mindset after the absolutely tragic loss of her friend and role model Kalpana Chawla in the Columbia disaster. For her, tragedy isn't a reason to stop. It's a profound motivation to learn, to improve, and to push harder in their honor. So, after facing all these life and death challenges, what's the ultimate reward? It's a profound change in perspective, one that you can only get by looking down on all of us from the quiet of the void.
The whole sensory experience of space is just bizarre,
It's never truly quiet, right? There's this constant hum of pumps and fans. You smell everything, from food to your crewmates. You even see flashes of light with your eyes closed as radiation passes through your retinas. And the simple things we take for granted, like the feeling of wind on your face or the pleasure of a grilled cheese sandwich, become these profound cravings.
But then you look down and you see Earth's beauty in just incredible detail. The Himalayas, where she says you can almost see the continental plates crashing together. The strange glow of massive fishing fleets out in the ocean. And India at night, a web of interconnected light like a living, breathing nervous system. But in the end, her most profound takeaway actually came after she returned. She was just overwhelmed by messages of support from complete strangers all over the world, from every country, every religion, every political belief you can imagine. Her biggest lesson wasn't technical. It was this powerful, emotional reminder that despite all the noise and all the distractions we focus on down here, there's a fundamental human connection and a goodness that ties us all together, a perspective she had to travel 250 miles up to see clearly.